Hello guys, how are we doing? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the next installment in my How to Win Hardpoints. Today we're going to be covering Skidrow, a map that has been requested over and over again, and I think this is the penultimate one in the series, the last one obviously being, I believe, Rio. Obviously correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm missing any, I'm clearly delusional. So to give you guys just a gist of what this includes, if you are new to this sort of series, obviously you can check out all the old ones down in the playlist below. This is basically just a guide where I give setups to certain hills so that you should be able to maintain the hill for the most of the time. Obviously, you're going to want to get the spawns initially, rotate early enough so that you can actually be set up on the hill when it pops. So kicking it off with P1 on Skidrow, it's this top fire area just here. And we're going to, assume the role of the red team. So the red team have got these back green spawns, which is this back P3 alley, and the person blocking the spawn is number 2. So this person should be using an AR if possible, and they're basically sat on this little AC watching any hop-ups from bottom mid, or if anyone decides to flank through bottom and other. And they're also in charge of ensuring that if number 3 spots anyone going around to the side, they can literally pick up the flank in the same spot. So this guy's pretty valuable in that obviously they're blocking the spawn so that the blue team can't spawn here, and he's watching 2 angles as well. Then on the other side of the map, you have number 1, who's already rotated to P2, which is obviously essential, but this is also a nice little hold to have to basically ensure that they can't get out of this tunnel side. It leaves a lot less of the map open if number 1's here, and obviously they can be top or bottom P2, and their main role here is to just stop people coming through the tunnel, obviously with an AR. Then you have player number 4, who is sat on their little box eddy in the middle of the hill, and they're just watching the long line of sight, the long haul, whatever you guys want to call it. And again, should have an AR. And then finally we have player number 3, who is sort of helping around the hill, can be a little bit more flexible. I'd suggest have a sub, but they can sit in this little fire window here, get in hill time, and then looking out this window here, because essentially in this setup, the blue team are going to spawn back Barber, so they're limited to either running tunnel, running top mid, or running out this side. So this is really going to squeeze them into this little area of the map, and if they get out, at least they're going to have to chow someone to get out of their spawn, and it keeps them far away from the hill. Now, number 3 can obviously back up and help out if needs be, but realistically, the staple players you're going to want to have here are number 1 and number 4, because they're watching like the most valuable line of sights. Number 3 and number 3 here and number 2 here, basically just picking up the flanks and filling in the gaps where necessary. So that's the setup I'd suggest if you manage to get the spawns to put P3. But let's say you're on the flip side of things. Let's say you're in fact blue team. You get 4 down. This is the setup you should try and obtain. So you just spawned blue. I do want to note though, it's very easy to flip spawns here, so chances are if you do get 4 down and you push through P1, chances are you're going to get these P3 spawns anyway. But let's say that's not the situation. Let's say you want to set up from this Barber side. This is a lovely little setup you can have. Similarly, you can see number 7 here mirrors that of the red player who was in P2 before. They're basically holding the exact same thing, but in this point, in this area, they're holding both garage as well as the long line of sight across ticket booth, which is just here. But they can be a little bit flexible. They can decide to move out a little bit. They can get on the heady here and look across. They can get on the back dustbin here and look across to P5 or garage. But realistically, it's their job to make sure that nobody can get through this area of the map, no matter where they are. You then have number 5, who's sort of, in a way, blocking the spawn. This doesn't specifically block this back blue spawn, but it's a way in that they can be far back enough in the hall so that they can watch the hop up through the middle. So in this setup, red are going to spawn in this green circle here, this back P3, and one player in red might decide to run all the way through through laundry, all the way up the stairs to try and pinch the hill. So this number 5 here is here to stop that happening, but they also have a really long line of sight down the hall to manage to get info, live mark, damage, whatever they need to do to anyone actually coming through P3 to challenge P1. Then I have number 8, who's probably one of your submachine gun players on the hill, and they're in this top window hop-up room here, and it's their job to make you play off the intel. If number 6 sees anyone jumping up the window, number 8 can play for them. Number 8 can then see if anyone crosses across the hall into platforms, so he's got that covered as well. This is a really nice player, again, can be a little bit flexible, but the general job is to make sure that they're defending this platform hop-up area of the map. Then finally, you have your second sub on the hill, which is number 6, who's getting the hill time. But from the hill time, all they really need to watch is this hop up. They're in doing the hop up, they're also watching if in case anyone decides to push through this doorway. But you can see every sort of avenue is covered. If they're spawning green, they're either going to push down towards the new hill. Maybe they're going to do the jump up, which is covered. They can either push through the actual obvious place to push through, which is this blue door, which is covered by, essentially, to get to the hill, 3 people. But if they decide they want to flank all the way around, like I just mentioned, obviously number 5 is going to be here for that as well. Moving into P2, which is this top bit here, which a horrendous hill. The ideal setup is to have the enemy spawn in tunnel, because it makes them have to funnel down into this long line of sight, which is obviously disgusting. If you've ever been spawning Barber with P2 active, you know how hard it is. It's really not ideal. So yeah, this is you want to make that happen first. So you want to get these P3 spawns to get to P2, and then dominate them from this position. So what do we have here? First of all, the most vital player potentially in this setup is player number 8. You're probably wondering why, because they're so far away from the hill. But the 2 spawns you have on this hill pretty much are P3 and Barber. And 8 being here blocks this P3 spawn, which forces red team to spawn Barber over and over and over and over again. There's no threat of them spawning out with number 8 player here. But whilst they're here, they can have an AR out, and they can literally watch the entire flank. There's no way a red player is going to go all the way around, and instead of just hopping out plat, they're going to hop around here. There's no way they're going to do that flank. They're always going to hop down unless they get the initial info. So this number 8 player down here with an AR is going to catch anyone off guard who decides that they want to come from top plat or top window, or maybe sneak through bottom garage and round tickets that way. They've got this whole right hand side of the map covered just from being here, as well as blocking spawns. Moving on a little bit upwards, so you've got number 8, player number 6, who again has an AR. This is a very AR dominant hill for the best setups, just because there's so many long line of sights to get to the hill. Number 6 is sat in P5. You can sit on the truck, you can sit on the crates, you can sit on the pallets, whatever you want to do in this general area. But this is a nice place to sit just because you can help out both sides if needs be. But player 6 is basically just helping watch the tunnel push. Now I've got 2 people watching the tunnel push, because generally that's where people are going to push from. If they spawn Barber, it's going to take them a while to take any other sort of route. So realistically, a lot of the enemy's time is going to be spent pushing through the tunnel. So you have number 5, who I've sort of tried to distinguish between 7 and 5. Number 5 is actually at the bottom of the hill. He's the bottom floor of P2, which is vital because you don't really want to be challenged from the top window. But number 5 is at the bottom of the hill. He can crack the door open. He can, shoulder. He can do what they need to be. But they can just challenge this long haul line, this long tunnel here, and then communicate to number 6 if they need help. And then obviously number 6 is the backup dancer in that if anyone decides that they actually do get through, they've got that covered additionally. And then finally you have number 7, who's getting all the hill time. They shouldn't really need to peek, but the worst case scenario, they can sit on top of the railings on the stairs. They can be on time, but what that does create is a nice little heady over the box in the middle of the hill, and they can see garage. They get a lot of info. They're on a disgusting head glitch. They might get a kill, but they don't want to die. They can't die. Worst case scenario, they can get the info, and then number 6 can pick up that, or number 5 can pick up that at the same time. But yeah, that's how you hold P2. Moving on to P3, which is this back alley here. Again, we're taking the role of blue team. And in the position where blue team are, the red team are going to spawn pretty much between P2 and P5 in this little space here. And then the blue team, any kills you concede will then spawn you laundry. So you want these spawns initially. You really want to fight for these back laundry spawns and then play from there. So again, a very vital player in this setup is player number 6, because they are both blocking the spawn and watching the entire flank. There's a little head glitch here just below P1 window where they can sit, watch the flank, and in doing and being here at the same time, they're blocking this back laundry spawn. So they're playing a really vital role here. You then have number 8, who is, I shouldn't get any kills, but as a worst case scenario, I would probably like to sit on the stairs, because typically what happens is if a player somehow leaks through anywhere, it's not this top bit. It's usually a backstep here, and what it'd mean if you're in this top steps area here, you at least get a notification that the hill is being contested, so you know that you don't just get killed initially. You have like a bit of a pre-warning by being up here. But essentially, their job is just to try and stay alive on hill, dodge nades, I guess. But they really shouldn't have to challenge on if this setup works effectively. Then you have number 7 here, who's going to be probably dealing most of the damage. They're sat top AC in this platform area, and they're pretty much just looking over tickets. They're looking at the hop up, and from here they can be absolutely dominant. And they've just got to try and stay alive, because this is the first player that they're really going to be coming across spawning here. You then have player number 5, who is in control of this whole blue zone. This is why this is highlighted. There's no arrows realistically from this player, but this player can have a sub. They can play really mixy, and it's basically their job to ensure that nobody can get through this blue door. They can help number 7 out to help. Like if number 7 says all four of them are pushing front like here, at least number 5 can then just, you know, with a sub, peek, look over and help out at least somewhat. Oops. But generally speaking, number 5, their main job is to make sure nobody can get through this blue door. But if they so happen to get through because they've put a little bit of focus towards here, at least number 8 is here just in case as a little bit of backup. Moving on to P4, which is this Barber Hill here, which is an absolute crucial hill to get right because you can get so much time from this hill. And again, you've got a player playing this nice little off-angle roll here and blocking the spawn. So the two main spawns you have here are Laundry and then just outside Garage, you know, in this general vicinity. And with the blues set up where they are, the red team, the bad team, the enemies are going to be spawning out here, which is where you want them to spawn. So number 8, again, is this player who is blocking this Laundry spawn. They're playing far back enough so that the enemy aren't going to randomly spawn here, as long as your players don't push far out and then annoyingly a spawn opens top apps. But we're not going to get into that. If you want to know the details of the spawns, there's a Skidrow spawn guide on my channel, which you can check out, which I uploaded probably about a month ago now. So yeah, feel free to check that out. But number 8, as well as blocking the hill, their job is to just basically make sure that nobody can run through bottom mid. With the red team spawning just here, it's very easy for them to run through bottom mid and go for a flank. So number 8 is that person, that player who, you know, is watching that. Now, if they do seem to be struggling, let's say number 8 comes across 2 or 3 players who run through here, and they can't quite manage to get the kills, they're trying to play their life as much as they can ask for help for number 7. So this little orange angle here, this little orange arrow, sorry, is like an alternative watch for number 7. So if number 7 gets info that number 8 needs help, they can always back up and help. But number 7 is probably best to have a sub player. But essentially it's their role to go back and forth between helping out tunnel side or helping out mid side, just dependent on what the team requires at that specific moment. Then you have number 6 who's getting all the hill time, but you'll notice something that's different with number 6 is that there's a dotted line, a dotted arrow looking into tunnel. Now what I mean by that, I wanted to differentiate between a solid arrow and a dotted arrow. It's because number 6 shouldn't just be sat in the window looking at the line of sight. They want to be shouldering it. They want to be checking it for a millisecond and ducking back into cover, because realistically, if you get beamed out the hill, it means teammates have then got to move and jig the whole thing around, and then it moves everyone out of position. So number 6 is just playing for info. Number 6 is basically shoulder peeking this tunnel side and communicating to player number 5 and number 7 how many players are running down the tunnel. Let's say he shoulder peeks, sees 4, he can communicate that to the team. Number 8 should really stay there to block the spawn, because obviously you're going to be getting kills and you don't want them to spawn here. But number 7 and number 5 can then full focus this bottom side of the hill. They don't need to worry about the flank. They don't need to worry about the top side. They can literally focus here. So yeah, in short, number 6, shouldering the window, getting the information of anyone running down the tunnel. Then finally, you have player number 5 who's sat in this spiral area. It's a very common spot to sit. And realistically, they would have an AR. And from here, they will be watching the top and then obviously helping out the bottom tunnel when needs be. And that's pretty much every LOS covered. So if red go tunnel, you've got plenty of people watching that. If red team decide to go bottom mid, you've got that flank. Let's say red decide to go top mid to hit the hill. Number 5's got that as well. The only way they can really get around is if they go all the way around through old P3, which realistically they're probably not going to do. Finally, we have P5, where we are taking the side of red team this time. The colours don't really matter. It's just whatever team's closest to there, to be fair. It's just irrelevant, to be honest. The two main spawns on this hill are tunnel or P3, and with the red team in this defensive position, the blue team will spawn all the way out at P3, which is probably what you want for this hill. So first things first, we have player number 1, top P2. Now this player is probably not going to get any kills, unless he's got an absolute beamer on him. But this player is just double checking if anyone's crossing, they can live mark, they can get at least some damage out, and they're the player that can go, I say it's 1 or 2 cross, I saw 2 cross, whatever, but number 1's a really nice player to have as long as they can shoot straight. And obviously they're going to have an AR. You don't want a rival 9 set up here. And then you have number 3, who is sat on the hill and being that last resort. Realistically, they don't want to be peeking. So if you die on hill, obviously the players then have to move out of their current position, so they really want to try and stay alive as much as possible. But in an ideal world, number 1 would live mark anyone running across, And number 3 could just beam them through the wall. It's a corrugated fence that you can just shoot through. So that's an ideal situation. But number 3, just as a last resort, can look over this direction here. There's obviously gaps in the fence that they can see through, but you don't want to do it too much because you will risk your life and maybe end up dying. Then number 2 here is probably going to get a lot of the kills. With the blue team spawn in P3, a lot of the focus for the blue team is going to be just running through tickets over and over and over again, which is why you've sort of got 3 people with their attention over this area. But there's a nice little hop up in this corner that you can get to and see anyone push through tickets. You can go low there. You can then decide to, all right, that's a little bit obvious. I've got a couple kills in this position. I can then jump up to the top crates and beam anyone from there. And realistically, they could go all the way back to where my cursor is here and look here as well. But realistically, number 2 is holding the fort down the very right-hand side. Have a trophy at your feet and just win your gunfights from this position, obviously with an AR. Finally, we have player number 4, who is the main sub on this hill, and it's there. The garage area is there. You've got garage here, checkers in this little area here, and number 4 has to dominate this area. A lot of the times, players will try and seep through and flank through garage like so. So number 4's ideal position here is to just make sure that people can't do that. They're in control of this garage, and him being here enables every single other one of his teammates to just focus on this ticket cross. Now, let's say number 1 gets the communication that there's 4 people crossing, or there's at least, or number 2 says there's 4 people at tickets. Number 4 can in fact turn around, help out and flank, but obviously you don't really want to die here. But realistically, if you die, if number 4 does fall to someone who's managed to win a gunfight in garage, and they spawn here, worst case scenario, number 1 can pick that up, and then number 4 can literally walk 3 steps out of their spawn and pick up garage immediately. So it's not the end of the world if this player dies. They're just there to make make it really difficult for the blue team to flank. So that's actually going to do it. The penultimate hardpoint guide on Skidrow. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions, obviously leave it down in the comments, and if you have any questions, let me know. Ciao for now.